Welcome to Read This Next with Laura and Nicole. Today we are doing part 2 of the 2020 wrap-up, so of the best books of 2020. Do check out last episode too.
Yes. So just again, give you our little sort of explanation of what we're trying to do. Rather than, pick our own top titles, what we've done is gone through a bunch of other organizations' top titles and kind of seen which ones pop up multiple times. We've also gone and tried to pick some that have only popped up on one or two lists, so they might be a little bit less known, so we can promo those. And then at the end of the episode, Nicole is going to talk about her personal top reads of the year.
One of them is not an actual 2020 publication,
It's all
but
right.
I read it in 2020.
Yeah, one of your top reads of the year.
Yeah. Now, did you want to start or did you want me to start?
Well, maybe you start off?
Alrighty. So we're starting with the best crime thrillers. The first one is, I believe it's called Gin Patrol on the Purple Line.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. By Deepa Anapara. So the description is 9-year-old Jai lives with his family in the smoggy, polluted slum of an Indian city. Applying the techniques he's seen on true crime TV shows and appointing himself the leader, Jai and his friends Pari and Faiz investigate a classmate's disappearance. The trio encounter indifferent police, street gangs, and bullies, and increasing danger as more children are abducted. This is a heartbreaking and vivid debut. I like the cover too.
Yeah, no, it's a great cover. It is a great cover. And kind of nice to read like a thriller that is not set in yet another, major metropolitan city in North America, right? So seeing the same some of the same tropes play out in a totally different environment could be an interesting read.
New spin.
New spin, exactly. Okay, this next one is called When No One Is Watching. It's by Alyssa Cole. And it's about gentrification, but it's not quite, doesn't play out the way you usually think of it. So this is the description. The gentrification of a Brooklyn neighborhood takes on a sinister new meaning. Sydney Green is Brooklyn bred and raised. Born and raised. Bred and raised.
Bred and raised.
Well, sort of the same thing. Okay. But her beloved neighborhood seems to change every time she blinks. Condos are sprouting like weeds, for sale signs are popping up overnight, and the neighbors she known all her life are disappearing. To hold on to her community's past and present, Sydney channels her frustration into a walking tour and finds an unlikely and unwanted assistant in one of the new arrivals to the block, her neighbor Theo. But Sydney and Theo's deep dive into history quickly becomes a dizzying descent into paranoia and fear. I like how this starts out kind of like, oh, this is a frustrating situation, and all of a sudden we're in paranoia and fear.
Yeah.
Their neighbors may not have moved to the suburbs after all, and the push to revitalize the community may be more deadly than advertised. I mean, it probably hadn't been advertised as deadly at all.
Yeah.
So if it is deadly, then yes, it's definitely more deadly than advertised.
Yeah, I don't think they tend to advertise gentrification either.
No, not to criticize the copy there, but kind of a funny way to word it.
Yeah.
When does coincidence become conspiracy? Where do people go when gentrification pushes them out? Can Sydney and Theo trust each other or themselves long enough to find out before they too disappear?
Another good crime thriller, and the cover again, loving it.
This is also an Own Voices book written by someone who has that sort of lived experience, presumably not the deadly part.
I hope not. I would hope not.
Yes, hopefully not.
Okay, the next one is Unspeakable Things by Jess Laurie. Oh wait, am I reading the right one? Yes, I am. Okay, Cassie McDowell's life in 1980s Minnesota seems perfectly wholesome. She lives on a farm, loves school, and has a crush on the nicest boys in class. Yet there are her parents' strange parties and their parade of deviant guests, but she's grown accustomed to them.
How do you grow accustomed to your parents' deviant guests?
That's a red flag.
It's a red flag. Okay.
All that changes when someone comes hunting in Lilydale. One by one, local boys go missing. One by one, they return changed, violent, moody, and withdrawn. What happened to them becomes the stuff of shocking rumors. The accusations of who's responsible grow just as wild and dangerous. No, just as wild and dangerous town secrets start to surface. There we go. Then Cassie's own sister undergoes the dark change. If she is to survive, Cassie must find her way in an adult world where every sin is justified and only the truth is unforgivable.
Okay. I hadn't heard about this one.
Me
That's
neither.
the first time I've heard this description.
Yeah, and it says that it's based on her own hometown.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm like,
That's okay. I
Minnesota.
mean, the strange parties and parade of deviant guests, I really want to know more.
Yeah, what are they up to?
How are
And
they
how
deviant?
does that relate?
And why? Okay, like as a parent, if I was going to start having strange parties and have deviant guests over, I would probably try pretty hard to keep it from my children.
Yeah, like get a babysitter.
Exactly. What's wrong with that? Get a babysitter.
You would
Anyway,
think.
sounds good. Sounds good.
Yeah, cool that it's from the kids' perspective.
Yes, indeed. And yet it is not a YA book. Like probably could be written by teens, but it is an adult novel. Okay, this next one is one of those ones that, you know, if you've been paying attention at all to Best of Your List, you've probably seen it. It's popped up on a whole bunch of lists and it was a bestseller. And yet again, it's another one of the ones that's like, oh, it has some Agatha Christie-esque elements. And I'm like, okay,
I'm
into it. So this book is called The Guest List. It's by Lucy Foley. It's the wedding of the year, but someone won't survive it. On a remote island off the coast of Ireland, guests gather to celebrate the wedding of Jules Keegan and Will Slater. Will is a rising television star, handsome and charming. Jules is a smart, ambitious magazine publisher. Though the sea is a little choppy and the self-service spotty, their wedding is everything you'd expect of a young power couple. Designer dress, 4-tiered wedding cake, boutique whiskey, vintage champagne. Every detail has been curated to perfection. All that's left to orchestrate is the happiness.
Oh.
Perfection is for plans, and people are all too human. It's not long after the cake is cut and the champagne popped that resentments and petty jealousies come out. Worse yet, the latest barometer reading shows the weather has shifted from fair to changeable and dark clouds are looming overhead. Everyone on the island has a secret. Everyone has a motive, and someone won't leave this wedding alive.
Oh, goodness. I like how they described the weather the same way. Like, what's that pathetic fallacy where the weather matches what's happening in the story? They're like, it's bad now, and the weather is bad.
Yeah. Well, you know, that's how they get cut off, you know. I do like that. I know I've said before on this program, I've said before that I like a small cast in a locked room. Basically, they can't get out, they have to deal with each other. I do find that to be an intriguing trope, certainly.
Love it.
Yeah, you know, you can go to a fun summer wedding that things take a turn
where someone's gonna die.
Yeah, that's what we're saying.
Okay, let's move on to something more pleasant.
Sure.
Best romance novels this year. The first one is Conventionally Yours, which pretty sure it's LGBTQ. It's written by Anna Albert. Yeah, okay. Sorry, I didn't want to say it's LGBTQ without reading it. So, perennial favorite Albert's captivating nerdy romance. The first in a promising new series dives into gamer culture, following outgoing but broke Conrad and shy, neurodiverse Alden on a road trip to the ultimate card game tournament. Each needs to win, but will it be at cards or love?
Well, why not both?
Yeah. I wonder, are they playing Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic the Gathering?
I'm assuming not Yu-Gi-Oh.
It's got to be Yu-Gi-Oh, man. Just get stacked with the Exodia deck and win all the time. That's what Alex and I picked up during the pandemic. Is we just started. He had so many cards, and we're like, you know what? Let's watch Yu-Gi-Oh, which is the first season. I'll probably edit this out, but the first season is we're best friends and we're gonna win with the power of friendship every single episode.
That's nice.
And then we just played Yu-Gi-Oh for a solid month. It was great. It's just math.
Fun.
Yeah.
Fun. You know what? Sounds fun. Why
Yeah.
not?
And this one has a classic romance cover where it's just like the cartoons on a blank background. Like that style, I
Yes.
feel is really popular right now.
I agree. Certainly. Certainly is very popular right now. Okay. So our next one. Okay, here we go. Is spoiler alert, book one in a series.
Ooh.
Ooh, I know. Okay, so here's the description. It's also a debut. This author, Olivia Dade, bursts onto the scene with a delightfully fun romantic comedy set in the world of fan fiction,
Yay!
in which a devoted fan goes on an unexpected date with her celebrity crush, who's secretly posting fan fiction of his own.
Oh my goodness.
Goodness. Okay, carrying on. Marcus Castor-Roop has a secret. While the world knows him as Aeneas, the star of the biggest show on TV, Gods of the Gates, he's known to fanfiction readers as Book Aeneas Would Never, an anonymous and popular poster. Marcus is able to get out his own frustrations with his character through his stories, especially the ones that feature the internet's favorite couple to ship, Aeneas and Lavinia. But if anyone ever found out about his online persona, he'd be fired immediately.
Yeah.
April Whittier has secrets of her own. A hardcore Lavinia fan, she's hidden her fanfiction and cosplay hobby from her real life for years, but not anymore. When she decides to post her latest Lavinia creation on Twitter, her photo goes viral. Trolls and supporters alike are commenting on her plus-size take, but when Marcus, one half of her OTP, sees her, and for people who aren't into fanfiction, OTP means one true pairing.
It's the be all end all of relationships.
Yes.
It's bae before everyone else.
Yes. Okay. So sees her pic and asks her out on a date despite her critics. She realizes life is really stranger than fan fiction. Even though their first date is a disaster, Marcus quickly realizes quickly realizes that he wants much more from April than a one-time publicity stunt. And when he discovers she's actually unapologetic Lavinia Stan, his closest fandom friend, he has one more huge secret to hide from her. With love and Marcus's career on the line, can the two of them stop hiding once and for all, or will a match made in fandom end up prematurely canceled?
Oh my god, it sounds so tropey and beautiful.
Yes.
And
Delightful cover.
Yeah, I really hope, like, you know how Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell, she was like, this is about a girl who writes fan fiction, and now
Yeah.
I'm gonna write the fan fiction.
I know, that was fun.
Maybe this could happen again. Maybe that'll be
Could.
like a new thing.
It could.
I hope so.
Yeah. It sounds like a really good time.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
like it's a whole bunch of different kind of cliches, right? Like the celebrity goes on wins, or usually it's like win a date with a celebrity or whatever, but the one-off date, and then the people having their identity secrets, right? That sort of thing. I mean, I'm literally reading a fan fiction right now with basically this plot.
There you go. Laura approved pre-reading.
Anyway, lots of fun. And a heroine who is plus sized and really gorgeous cover featuring her, which is unfortunately not something you see a ton of in literature. So a nice thing to have highlighted. Definitely. Beautiful cover. Well, beautiful is not the right word. Cute. It's really cute.
Yeah,
I just like looking at it.
Yeah, me too. It's very simple.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. The next one is by Jane Igaro, Ties That Tether. Another beautiful cover. Lots of like golds and reds and pinks. Very pretty. Okay. Igaro's debut sees Nigerian-Canadian Azir caught between honoring her culture and family and her attraction to Raphael, a stranger she meets at a bar who ends up working at her company. Familiar romance tropes are given new life as Igaro beautifully depicts the tension between self-determination and the desire to live up to your family expectations. Now we'll read the good description. Laura just added it in our doc. Here we go. When a Nigerian woman falls for a man she knows will break her mother's heart, she must choose between her love and her family. At 12 years old, Azir promised her dying father she would marry a Nigerian man and preserve her culture, even after emigrating to Canada.
I made lots of promises at 12 that I did not keep in my life. So
You're a different person. That's a lot.
yes.
So it sounds like she meets Raphael, who is a tall, handsome, and very white man. Their one night stand unexpectedly evolves into something serious, and Azir is caught between her growing feelings and her compulsive need to please her mother, who will never accept their relationship. Azir can't help wondering if loving Raphael makes her any less Nigerian. Can she be with him without compromising her identity? Well, the answer will either cause Azir to be audacious and fight for her happiness or continue as the compliant daughter. There you go.
Yeah. And this is one of those stories that, like, it's about, in a way, it's about something very specific, like about Nigerian culture and expectations. But that, many people can, not the exact situation, but you can relate to that because similar things have happened, right? Like your parents didn't like someone you wanted to date, or you felt expectations about finding someone to date that would be acceptable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
The next one looks like the traditional
Very
romance.
much
Oh, I see you
so.
added one more. Do you want me to talk
I
about the
did.
traditional one?
Doesn't matter. I can
Okay,
do the traditional one if you
I'll
want.
do the traditional one. So
Okay.
this is like this is like you're going to the Harlequin romance section and you see Fabio with his hair blowing in the wind kind of cover. So it's called The Truth About Dukes by Grace Burrows. When Constance Wentworth and Robert, Duke of Rothmere, meet at a ball, no one knows their first encounter was years ago, when Rob was incarcerated in a private hospital for treatment of epilepsy. Now their bond is stronger than ever as they face foes challenging Rob's competence while trying to find Constance's illegitimate daughter given up for adoption. Lots going on.
So I have to say, maybe the cover is very traditional. That description sounds wild.
Yeah. It sounds
Uh,
anything but traditional, but it's
it
still a duke.
does. How fun.
Yeah. There's so many.
Okay.
It was interesting finding the romance novels like that got nominated for things because they were so diverse now.
Yeah.
And even the older, like more traditional ones they're so different from what they used to be, even though they're very similar. It's cool.
Yeah. They're exploring all sorts of new things in the romance genre. If you've never checked it out before, you have like kind of stereotypical ideas of what romance novels might be. You should maybe check some of these out because I think they would surprise you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So this last one is another one that, is going to hit a lot of cliches, but in slightly different ways. So this book's called Boyfriend Material. It's by Alexis Hall. Wanted one fake boyfriend, practically perfect in every way. Luke O'Donnell is tangentially and reluctantly famous. His rock star parents split when he was young, and the father he's never met spent the next 20 years cruising in and out of rehab. Now that his father's making a comeback, Luke's back in the public eye, and one compromising photo is enough to ruin everything.
Mm.
To clean up his image, Luke has to find a nice, normal relationship, and Oliver Blackwood is as nice and normal as they come. He's a barrister, an ethical vegetarian, and he's never inspired a moment of scandal in his life. In other words, perfect boyfriend material. Unfortunately, apart from being gay, single, and really, really in need of a date for a big event, Luke and Oliver have nothing in common. So they strike a deal to be publicity-friendly, fake boyfriends until the dust has settled. Then they can go their separate ways and pretend it never happened. Oh, really?
Will they be able to?
But the thing about fake dating is that it can feel a lot like real dating. And that's when you get used to someone, start falling for them, don't ever want to let them go.
Shocker.
Who saw that coming?
Not me. Another good one. And the cover is the same style as the spoiler alert. It's got like the cartoon people and then like the outlines done in white in the back.
Maybe same publisher.
Oh, that could be.
Could be.
Yeah.
Could be.
Good designs. All right,
What?
we are moving on to best fiction. I think we got a few in this one. Okay. So, best fiction, The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. I have heard only good things about this book, and actually, one of the team reviewers reviewed it for the blog. So, check that out. Okay, somewhere beyond the edge of the universe, there's a library that contains an infinite number of books, each one the story of another reality. One tells the story of your life as it is, along with another book for the other life you could have lived. And if you make a different choice at any point in your life, what basically for any time you could have made a different choice, there's a new book in the library. While we all wonder how our lives might have been, what if you had the chance to go to the library and see for yourself? Would any of these lives be truly better? So in this world, the
Dangerous.
character the character Nora Seed finds herself faced with this decision, faced with the possibility of changing her life for a new one, following a different career, undoing old breakups, realizing her dreams of becoming a glaciologist. She must search within herself as she travels through the Midnight Library to decide what is truly fulfilling in life and what makes it worth living in the first place.
Interesting.
Right?
Yes. Kind of a lot about facing regrets in a way.
Mm-hmm,
Right?
Very Sliding Doors. Is that the movie?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Very sliding
Yes, it is.
doors.
Sliding doors, parallel lives. It's funny because in a way it's a very science fiction-y premise.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it is parallel worlds when it comes down to it.
Multiverse.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. This next one, I believe, is a book in translation.
Okay.
It's called If I Had Your Faith by Frances Cha. A riveting debut novel set in contemporary Seoul, Korea, about 4 young women making their way in a world defined by impossibly high standards of beauty, secret room salons catering to wealthy men, strict social hierarchies, and K-pop fan mania. Mania?
Mania.
Mania. Whatever. Okay, so this is the description. Kiuri is a heartbreakingly beautiful woman with a hard-won job at a room salon, an exclusive bar where she entertains businessmen while they drink. Though she prides herself on her cold, clear-eyed approach to life, an impulsive mistake with a client may come to threaten her livelihood. Her roommate, Miho, is a talented artist who grew up in an orphanage but won a scholarship to study art in New York. Returning to Korea after college, she finds herself in a precarious relationship with the super wealthy heir to one of Korea's biggest companies. Let's see. Okay, down the hall in their apartment building is Ira, a hairstylist for whom 2 preoccupations sustain her: obsession with a boy band pop star and a best friend who is saving up for the extreme plastic surgery that is commonplace.
Oh.
And Wona, floor below, is a newlywed trying to get pregnant with a child that she and her husband have no idea how they can afford to raise and educate in the cutthroat economy. Together, their stories tell a gripping tale that's seemingly unfamiliar, yet unmistakably universal, in the way that their tentative friendships may have to be their saving grace.
Wow. That sounds... I like this is very much a you story where it has, again, limited cast, very character driven. It's very contemporary. It sounds really good. And I'm assuming its own voices.
I believe so.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, right. And I do like as well, like the female friendship focus, right?
Mhm.
And the ways that women support and it's a me book. It really is.
Yeah, it's a you book. Exactly. The last episode was like me books. These ones are all you books. It's great.
I love it. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, the next one is Una Out of Order by Margarita Montemor. It's New Year's Eve, 1982, and Una Lockhart has her whole life before her. At the stroke of midnight, she will turn 19, and the year ahead promises to be one of consequence. Should she go to London and study economics, or remain home in Brooklyn to pursue her passion for music and be with her boyfriend? As the countdown to New Year's begins, Una faints and awakens 32 years later in the future in her 51-year-old body. That's a shock. Yep. Greeted by a friendly stranger in a beautiful house, she is still... It's like 13 going on 30, but like 18 going on 51.
Yes. Yes, a little bit.
Greeted by a friendly stranger in a beautiful house she's told is her own, Una learns with each passing year she will leap into another age at random, and so begins Una out of order. Whoa! Hopping through decades,
Yeah.
pop culture fads, and much needed stock tips, Una is still a young woman on the inside, but ever changing on the outside. Who will she be next year? Philanthropist, club kid, world traveler, wife to a man she's never met? Surprising, magical, and heart wrenching, Margarita Montemor has crafted an unforgettable story about the burdens of time, the endurance of love, and the power of family.
I feel like 2020, and then it's a coincidence because book publishing doesn't work this fast, right? But that there were many books in 2020 about time,
Mm-hmm.
and about how people change over time or don't change, and attachments to different periods of time. Like
Yeah.
even just on the couple of ones we've mentioned, like this one, The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue kind of has that theme, and
Mm-hmm.
The Midnight Library kind of has that theme as well. Like,
We're all going into 2020 regretting things.
well, no, not necessarily. That's not what I was going to take out of it. Going into 2020, kind of reflecting on our use of time, how we spend our time, what we do with our lives.
I wonder what 2021 will be. Pandemic.
I can't even imagine.
I was
If
trapped.
I tried, yeah, if I tried to predict,
Ooh, you might find stories that are your genre where it's like we're all trapped inside our apartment. And there's
could
a
be
monster. There you
those. I
go.
mean, those are out there.
Yeah. That one
Yep.
looks really good.
It does. Although I have to say, I do not like the cover. Don't know how you feel about it. But
Really? Oh, I cannot oh, I did that thing again where I tried to minimize zoom. I don't mind it. I think it's kind of like I don't like the cartoon style of it, but I like the
yeah,
idea.
sure, the concept,
Hmm.
if not the actual image.
I will
I get
say
it.
though, like
Yes.
how if I met someone, I was just 18, now I'm 51. Does that
Yeah.
person know that I'm going between years at that point? Like for them, time moves continuously, right? So they're like, "Oh, she's 51 the first time she meets me."
Yeah.
But I'm 27 the first
It
time I meet her.
it depends, I think, whether or not she decides to tell the people in her life about it, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'd be interesting to read what she decides, because that book years ago, The Time Traveler's Wife, I don't know if you read
Mm.
that one.
We talked about it and how I didn't read it.
Well, he decides, like, he fully brings his wife into his experiences and is basically like, I remember meeting you when you were a kid. That was me, 10 years from now.
Yeah.
Like, and like writes notes to her about when he'll be around or whatever. So it could be that sort of thing, or it could be she decides not to tell anyone and kind of just
Just
figures it
lives
out. I don't
each
know.
year. I can't wait to see how that one plays out.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Also sounds a little bit like Every Day by David Levithan, which is about a being that wakes up every day in a new body.
I feel like I read that, but that one's been out for a really long time, so it could have
Yes.
been eons ago.
Yes. But yes, also an interesting idea. Anyway, we've got one more sort of literary title.
Is it you?
No, it could be, but
I read Una out of order.
you did. It is me. I just talked a lot after because that's what I do. Okay. This one is definitely in translation. Hurricane Season by Fernanda Melchor, translated by Sophie Hughes, and tons of best book of the year lists. And it is available on Cloud Library, if not in print. So, sounds great. Here's the description. The witch is dead, and the discovery of her corpse by a group of children playing near the irrigation canals propels the whole village into an investigation of how and why this murder occurred. Rumors and suspicions spread. As the novel unfolds in a dizzyingly linguistic torrent, with each unreliable narrator lingering on new details, new acts of depravity or brutality, Melchor extracts some tiny shred of humanity from these characters that most would write off as utterly irredeemable, forming a lasting portrait of a damned Mexican village.
Ooh, I love
Yeah.
unreliable narrators.
So here's the last little bit. I've never even heard of that one author, but like Robert Bolano's 2666, if you are familiar with that, or Faulkner's greatest novels, hurricane season takes place in a world filled with mythology and violence, real violence, the kind that seeps into the soil, poisoning everything around. It's a world that becomes more terrifying and more terrifyingly real the deeper you explore it.
Oh.
Yeah. I
Okay.
did actually start this novel. And
Oh. Is it good?
yeah, and it is it's a very linguistically dense novel. It must have been a very difficult translation, I imagine, but they did a great job. Very poetic language, which is an evocative, and it's interesting when that sort of skill with language is used to portray images of violence and brutality
Mm-hmm.
and depravity. Yeah.
Total opposites.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds good though.
Yes.
To finish off the episode, we're gonna do my top 5-star, 3-star reviewed.
Yay!
The 3 books I read last year. the top 3 books I read last year. Okay. So we already discussed in the YA episode my love of Holly Black and her latest 2020 novel, Queen of Nothing, which was so good. Great ending to the series. Again, love Holly Black. Her stuff is sitting right there and right there. I got them on my
That's your little
shelf.
shelf right there.
Yeah,
Nice.
this is my favorite shelf.
Okay.
I have more around the house.
Sure. Can you imagine if that was all your books?
Yeah, this is it. And these are my plants that I'm growing in here.
Sure. That's very nice.
Blocked. Yeah, so I love Holly Black. That was one of my top picks. The other pick that I read this year was A Deadly Education by Naomi Novik, which was amazing. I love Naomi Novik. Again, she's on my shelf right there. And I loved her. I love her, like, not her series stuff as much, which I haven't read, her one-off stuff, which is really surprising because I'm a series gal. And this one, The Deadly Education, is actually a series that she's starting again. And it sounds like she wrote so much for her duology that she turned it into a trilogy.
Nice.
So we have the next one coming out in like June or something, and then the next one coming out in December.
Oh my gosh.
I know, that's how much she wrote. I know.
That's wild.
So I'm really pumped about it. It's really good. It's about these wizards who, it's kind of Percy Jackson style, when they're not with wizards who can protect them, they're like hunted down by monsters. So they try and get to these safe places, the one being this wizard school. There's no teachers. The like school is magic, so it like teaches them, and they have to survive in the school, which is also constantly has monsters trying to get in. So you have to survive the school, you have to get through school itself, and then we follow a character who's not really well liked, and she's like meets the golden boy. So there's a little bit of enemies to lovers, just a little bit. But it's really cute, and it's actually in the adult section, but it's about teens, which I really don't know why. I don't know why they put it in adult at all.
Most of her other stuff is adult.
Yeah, but still, like,
I don't know.
It's very odd. But anyways, it's very good for all ages. And then my last top 5 is my last 5-star rating.
Yes.
Top 3 is An Enchantment of Ravens by Margaret Rogerson. And I think I've talked about her Sorcery of Thorns book, which I also read last year. But the Enchantment of Ravens is... I'm just going to read the description because I don't think we've actually talked about it before.
Not this one, no.
Yeah, okay. Here we go. Every enchantment has a price. With a flick of her paintbrush, Isabel creates stunning portraits for a dangerous set of clients, the fair folk. These immortal creatures cannot bake bread or put a pen to paper without crumbling to dust. They crave human craft with a terrible thirst, and they trade valuable enchantments for Isabel's paintings. When she receives her first royal patron, Rook, the Autumn Prince, Isabel makes a deadly mistake. She paints mortal sorrow in his eyes, a weakness that could cost him his throne and even his life. Furious, Rook spirits Isabel away to his kingdom to stand for trial for her crime. But something is seriously amiss in his world, and they are attacked from every side. With Isabel and Rook depending on each other for survival, their alliance blossoms into trust, perhaps even love, a forbidden emotion that would violate the fair folk's ruthless laws, rendering both their lives forfeit. What force could Isabel's painting conjure that is powerful enough to defy the ancient malice of the fairy courts? Again, fairies.
Again, fairies.
Enemies to lovers.
Yeah.
It's the combo of both my faves.
Yeah.
So check that one out. It's really good. If you liked the Iron Fae and like those kinds of books, and Holly Black again, really good. Check her out because Margaret Rogerson just writes like very lush books.
Lush. It's a good word.
Lush. Yeah. So those are my top 3 2020 reads. And I think that's actually the end of our episode.
I believe so. You can find the show notes at tvpalofftheshelf.com. And I'm also going to include links to both of our Goodreads on the show notes this week, so that if you want to dig further into what we read last year, see what we gave 1 star to maybe, or what else we enjoyed or didn't enjoy reading last year, you can dig into it there.
Yeah. And you can find out what we rated very low. And also you can see that I beat my score. I was aiming for 12. Last year I aimed for 24. I only got 8. This year I aimed for 12 and I got 25. Ooh.
That's very good. I read lots. But
you did.
Yes, but to be fair, I also include picture books.
That counts. Reading is reading.
I read. I know. But like, number of pages. It's not as impressive to say I've read 100 books if 25 or 30 of them are children's picture books.
You wouldn't tell that to a 7-year-old. Don't tell it to yourself either. All right, I will finish up with our plugs, I guess, then. Okay. Oh, I'm trying to minimize again. Here we go. Okay, like, follow, subscribe on YouTube at TBAPL. We are TBAPL across the board. Please review our podcast on your favorite podcast platform. We post our audio Tuesdays and the video version the following Mondays. So if you want to listen or watch us, you can. And of course, you can find our show notes, like Laura said, at www.tvplofftheshelf.com. That's it.
Thank you for joining us. And we'll be back again next week.
Yeah. Bye.
Goodbye.